Hello and welcome to Entropy Rising, where we normally talk about science and futurism, but this is actually a special episode. Isn't that right, Lucas?
Yeah. Today we're doing a Q&A from our loyal viewers from all around. They've given us some questions and we're going to try and give you some answers.
So hopefully that's you if you are a normal watcher of the show, and then this is an episode dedicated basically to you where we were taking all of your questions. If this is the first episode you have happened to stumble across, you are more than welcome to join us for this Q&A. We're going to be covering a lot of interesting questions. A lot of them are science fiction and space based, but I do want to let you know this is not our normal episode, and I would highly encourage you to go check out one of our normal episodes to actually get a feel for what we're about. Also, for any of you listening, this will not replace episode 11, the episode coming out after this. That will be out next Monday. So this is just an additional episode, a surprise episode that we wanted to make for you guys, and this is actually to celebrate a milestone. Lucas, we have reached 10 episodes.
Wow, that's incredible.
You know, I think something like only 80% of podcasts don't even make it past episode 6.
I wonder why that is.
It's hard.
Oh.
It's a pain.
Oh, just talking with your buddy.
Well, I thought it'd be talking like your buddy, and then you're up at 2 a.m. frantically editing to get an episode to go live, angry at your buddy from muttering a word that you can't find a replacement for.
Sorry. Well, you gotta love it though. You really do.
I do love it. I absolutely love this, and we've gotten so lucky. There's so many amazing people out there. I just really want to say thank you to each and every one of you who followed along for us so far, and we're both looking forward to making more and growing the podcast.
Yeah, no, it's really been a surreal experience being able to go through and talk with people who have taken the time out of their day to say kind words about what me and Jake are doing here. And appreciation doesn't even come close to conveying how we feel about you guys so far.
Yeah.
So thank you all so much for your support. And I'm excited to get into these questions that you have for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think when we first started, I told you don't expect anyone to actually listen to us until episode 10.
That is true. I mean, really, we were expecting to have 10 or 15 episodes out and maybe have 3 guys and one of them is an AI chatbot trying to get us to buy a subscription to something as far as subscribers go. So the turnout has been way beyond what we imagined.
Absolutely. Well, Lucas, you want to hop into some of these questions? I think we got some really good ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Lucas, I asked you to pick out some of the questions you were most interested in. I picked out the ones that I liked, and then we'll just take turns asking these to each other.
Okay.
Also, just for the record, if you did ask any of these questions, I've opted not to include people's usernames across any of the platforms because, I don't know, I didn't know how comfortable people would be with that. So I just chose not to do it just to be safe. So sorry if you did want your username mentioned. Maybe if we do one of these for episode 20, I'll explicitly ask if people want their username mentioned.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good idea.
I didn't think about it at the time. All right, so the first one is someone, and here's what it says. I have 2 questions. Question 1, what type of events would most likely cause an apocalypse type scenario, like what you see in movies, a pandemic, an asteroid, etc.? And my second question is, what are y'all's favorite pieces of media? Can be anything, games, movies, books, artwork, etc. Lucas, do you want to start with your answer for question 1 there?
Yeah, absolutely. That is such a fun question because I feel like a lot of us sit around and we think about how will the world end. For me, it has to be AI uprising.
Really? You think that's the most likely?
I really do, especially with the advancements that have been going on with AI currently. Like, I'm really getting some Terminator vibes coming off of ChatGPT whenever I ask it stupid questions. And I just feel like when we're talking about efficiency of life, like robotics and AI are going to be the final form of evolution. So why not, that be the most plausible reason for us just getting eliminated?
Or maybe it'll keep us as a pet. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind that. If I get to live and see them advance. But yeah, I would say that that's my answer. What do you think?
Oh man, that is a hard one. I mean, I don't think asteroid is very likely because we've mapped most of the large asteroids that are around Earth and none of them are at risk of hitting us. But
that is a hot topic right now.
Well, yeah, it dropped to 0%. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, nice.
This is going to be out of date in like 2 months. That reference. Yeah. But asteroid to me has a special resonance because it's like if we detected an Earth killer asteroid heading to Earth right now, there's just nothing we could do. I mean, if one did sneak by our detection net and it just popped up right now, we discovered that a dinosaur killer is heading toward us. Even if we have 5, 10, 15 years to prepare, there's nothing we can do at a certain size. We just don't have the technology right now. So I don't know if likely is the right word for that because It's not very likely, but I think that would be the one to do it.
It definitely would do it. It is possible too, because there are so many asteroids that we map like 98% of them.
Yeah, but we disproportionately map large ones. They're easier to see. So like even though we're missing a lot, we have most of the large ones.
Most of them.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
That rogue one's coming up from behind.
Yeah, that's true. It's not impossible. And to me, it resonates because it's like, if we do discover it, there's nothing you can do. It's like getting a terminal diagnostics from a doctor. You just gotta be like, I guess it's coming at this date.
Yeah. Well, that would be horrible.
Yeah. I do think climate change is most likely, though that's probably not going to destroy humanity, just the world as we know it.
Yeah. Everything goes underwater, then it comes back. If you get an ice age, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think humanity will be fine, but I think society as we know it could potentially be upended depending on if we're able to correct it with technology, which I think is possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
For part 2, though, what's your favorite piece of media?
Man, that is a hard one. I definitely would have to say games. I play a lot of games. It's very hard for me to sit down and just watch or read something.
I think this person was asking about a specific one. I think she just gave broad category.
A specific game? I love 4X games, Stellaris, Civilization, Humankind.
You do love Stellaris.
Yes, I love Stellaris. And I love automation games, Satisfactory, Factorio. Games that are both calming but also make you think, sort of like a calming strategy. I find my peace there.
Yeah, I do love automation games. I put way too many hours into Dyson Sphere Program myself.
Dyson Sphere Program. Yeah. No, I still haven't played that one.
You need to play it. It's really good. I guess for me, though, books, probably audiobooks particularly. I work in a lab, so I'm almost always listening to something, and music is fine, but it gets very boring very fast. So I like to have audiobooks on. It's expensive. I can go through like a book a week, but it is probably my favorite form of media overall.
Yes. So for any of you wondering, that's why Jake always sounds more informed than me. Because while he's reading, I'm building belts.
Well, no, it's a distraction from work, which sometimes gets me like a deviation, but it's fine. Don't tell my boss that. All right, Lucas, I guess you can ask your question now.
Okay, let's see. So the next one, I think that this is a really good question. If we build giant solar panels in space, what could we use that energy for since we can't beam it to Earth?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, we've talked about Dyson swarms, Dyson spheres, all kinds of stuff, and you don't even have to go that crazy. You can just build them in space. I think it's a common misconception that when we're talking about building a Dyson swarm, we're sending all the energy back to Earth, because that's a great way to destroy your planet, essentially, right?
Yeah, giant laser.
Yeah, you don't
out our planet.
Yeah, you do not want 100% of the sun's output coming to Earth. I do think we would send some power back, just a very small percentage of it.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal guess is what we would use this energy for is mostly like space habitats. I envision Dyson swarms as being a mix of solar collectors and then like orbital habitats like O'Neill cylinders or any other type of orbital habitat you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And the additional power probably gets used for things like refining metals, mining asteroids, or even maybe powering interstellar travel.
Yeah. You could use it for beams, similar to how you were saying before, where we launch it at Earth, except instead we launch it at a moon or a planet to terraform.
Yeah. Terraforming, that's another great use for it.
Things like that.
If we get crazy, we can move the whole solar system with that power through something called a
stellar engine.
Stellar engine, that's the word. Shikata thruster. That's the
Shikata thruster.
I think that's how you pronounce it. That's the specific design for it. But yeah, no, I think those are all good uses for it. Moving the star, maybe, maybe not right now, but down the road.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that is a great question, and one that I did ponder for a little while too. But Jake bringing up that point of having a Dyson swarm made out of civilizations, I feel like that'll be the most efficient use for it.
I think so too.
Powering those.
The next question is, it's a bit of a longer one, so I'm just going to summarize it. It's mostly just someone asking how the podcast is doing. Yeah, it's doing good. We're growing way faster than I think you or I expected. We actually just crossed having 200 subscribers on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, which is incredible. We started this as something that was just fun. We would talk like this as friends always in the beginning, and it has just been steadily growing.
It's crazy that people are like tagging along for these conversations, and yeah, it's growing very well, and it's because of all of you, and Lucas and I are both just absolutely blown away by it, and ultimately we're hoping to take the success from this and funnel it back into podcast, increase the production quality. And we're hoping to add video to it one day. And also, we've got some other plans. I think I mentioned it to you. We had this crazy idea of maybe doing some live streaming, like on Twitch, where we play some Stellaris or some other games and have our normal conversations like we would have on the podcast while we're playing video games. If that's something you're interested in, leave a message or leave a comment. Maybe we'll speed up the process.
And we're always open to feedback from you guys as well. We are new to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you have to say or any kind of input is always taken into consideration.
Yeah. And then a follow-up for that question. I think he has a podcast. He was asking questions. He said, how are we finding people? I think people just find us. I post on Threads a lot, but that's about it.
Yeah. Jake has put a lot of effort into building a platform for us that looks very professional.
I was bored.
He's really good at what he does as far as making coming and listening to us as easy as possible. We are on every platform that you can think of, and we're just a few button clicks away.
I don't know if I told you this, though. There was this is like probably around episode 4. I was up late. My wife was asleep. I had a few drinks, and I literally just opened a list of every podcast directory that you could get listed on. And I spent like 2 hours going to like each one. And some of these were like some like random ones that aren't even in English. But I was like, whatever. I'm going to submit our podcast. So there's some like really random podcast sites we're on now.
So those are where those downloads from Thailand are.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's awesome. So the next question is, I read that runaway black holes were discovered by the stardust they left in their wake. Does this mean that they don't orbit, or what makes them move now?
I think what this person's referring to is it's the same concept as like a rogue planet. These are black holes that have been ejected from their galaxies or their solar systems or wherever they were. They're no longer gravitationally bound to anything. They're no longer in any orbits, and they're just flying through interstellar space. I think that's what they're referring to by runaway black holes.
That would make sense. Then it would follow the same thought as rogue planets. Either some kind of a collision, or when you think about if that black hole had an orbit that allowed for it to be ejected, it would have had to have been orbiting something with an even greater mass than itself. When black holes start coming together to fuse, we haven't seen it, but
we've detected it. They're gravitational waves.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. They spin around each other incredibly rapidly. That could disrupt a standard gravitational pull of a black hole on another smaller black hole a little further from it and eject it, essentially.
And there's all kinds of things that can eject black holes. Collisions of galaxies, potentially supernovas going off could push them away if they're like close enough by. There's a lot of things. For example, if you could have large stars that get ejected from the galaxies and go supernova. They'll turn into black holes. A long story short, there's a lot of things that can cause a black hole to be wandering through the galaxy. And I do think this might also stem from a little bit of confusion. Black holes, they work like really any other body in terms of gravity. They get affected by gravity. They can orbit. Things can orbit them. They really only get weird when you get close by. But from a distance, a black hole with the mass of our sun would work just like any other star with the mass of our sun from a distance. So it can orbit things and get ejected.
Man, that would be terrifying to have hurling towards you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a black hole, a rogue black hole that's come into our solar system.
Can I change my answer on the apocalypse question now? I mean, what do you what do you do?
Just it wouldn't even stop for us to just suck up everything and just keep going.
Yeah, even if it doesn't hit your planet, it's disrupting your entire solar system.
Oh yeah, no, you're done.
All right, the follow-up question. Someone asked, what's your educational background, and do you ever check your science statements with other physicists or astronomers? I guess I'll go first on that one. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, and then I did a dual degree, so I also have it's not a minor. Basically, chemistry and physics are my bachelor's degrees, and then I have a master's degree in chemical engineering.
Very nice. I have a bachelor's in biology and biomedical engineering.
Yeah. Surprisingly not astronomy, although chemical engineering is a very physics-heavy degree. I mean, to be fair, so is chemistry, and I did add a physics major to it. Now, for the secondary statement, do you ever check your scientific statements with other physicists or astronomers? I don't really know any other physicists or astronomers. I do have some friends who went through university with me who got physics degrees, but they're not exactly doing physics as a job. A lot of them, one of them, for example, he works for an insurance company, interestingly enough. He does like all the mathematical modeling for like disasters, and it's physics heavy stuff. But if I asked him about a Dyson swarm, he'd look at me sideways. I promise you that.
Yeah, we do a lot of research on the things that we do talk about, and that research comes from usually papers that have been published by other physicists or astronomers.
It's surprising. There's a lot of papers on things like Dyson swarms and O'Neill cylinders. Like these aren't just like things that came up for a book. There were actual like physicists. I mean, the Dyson swarm is named after Freeman Dyson. They actually sat down, worked out the math, wrote it all up, wrote a scientific paper and put it out there. So if you're interested in this stuff, you can actually read like real published results regarding the structures of these things. I will warn you, they're not, a science fiction book. They're really physics heavy. The paper I read on the Dyson, or I've read a couple of papers breaking down how Dyson swarms could work. They don't shy away from differential equations, but they're definitely interesting reads. And there's some like actual real thought put into these things. I do check a lot of that, and that's where I draw a lot of inspiration from.
Talking about university as well, that's actually how me and Jake became friends.
Oh yeah, we met in a lab. That's when I was mistakenly pursuing a PhD in biochemistry. Lucas got brought on to help get some experience in the lab. We were working on cancer at the time. We were trying to find...
and super bacteria.
Yeah. The lab was doing two different projects. My project was the cancer project. The rest of the lab was working on antibiotic resistance. You got brought on. We were working on the cancer thing, not developing a new chemotherapeutic, but we were trying to find basically things that made existing chemotherapies more efficient. It was very boring work. I ended up dropping out. I did not enjoy it at all.
No.
And I went and got a master's degree in chemical engineering instead.
Yeah. And really the best part of my days in that lab were with Jake as well. I remember one of the first things I said to him is I was talking about the possibility of silicon-based life forms, because we've been nerds like this since we've met.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I turned to him and I'm like, well, it's just possible because silicon very closely resembles carbon. And then he just turns to me and he goes, I know, I'm a chemist. And then that just made me laugh. So, but we've known each other for a while, even since we've been in school.
Yeah.
So.
Then they like locked us in a basement where the cell culture stuff was, and we ended up just spending more time watching Korsaga's art and Isaac Arthur. We listened to a lot of his stuff, which, God, if you like our podcast, listen to Isaac Arthur. But yeah, that's where we discovered the shared passion for all this stuff.
Yep. Just me and Jake and rat brain cells.
God. Rat pituitary cells, and they were freaking annoying.
Oh, man.
I hated those things. Oh, God. Especially they had MCF7. I think those human breast cancer? I forget.
They
were very annoying. They were very finicky.
They were. Is it my turn to ask?
It is, yes. It is.
Let's see. This one is there a scientific fact that you still find hard to believe?
Yes. Actually, so the person who asked this question asked on Threads, and I'm going to answer them after the show. I answered everyone else before, but it's because it took me a minute. Like, I had to sit down and really think about this question because... I don't know. It's such a good question. I think what I settled on, though, was I think people are familiar with the idea of Hawking radiation, which is basically the process by which black holes can evaporate. I don't think a lot of people are familiar with how slow of a process it is, especially for large black holes. So I guess the scientific fact that took me a while to wrap my brain around or caught me the most off guard was that just an example of how slow this process is. Sagittarius A, which is the supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy, has, in the 13 billion years of the universe existing, has yet to emit its first photon due to Hawking radiation.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So you're taking this more of like something that's so crazy that it's hard to believe, not quite literally something that I feel like isn't true.
That is how I am taking it, but you feel free to take it however you want.
Well, I mean, as I think about it, like I trust all scientific fact. It's usually backed by a lot of research, papers, multiple studies. If we're talking about something that's hard to believe, like just black holes in general are crazy. That is a crazy concept out there, like with their event horizon and how you can curve time and space around them. Just because they're so dense is insane.
Absolutely.
Or just gravity in general is also another crazy law.
It is weird to think about. Gravity's a tricky one too. I think people think we have gravity figured out, but it's like one of the most elusive forces of nature. We still haven't really came to understand it yet.
Yeah, no, it's wild. And when you look at it in like a three-dimensional grid and it's more curving space around objects and that's how they interact with each other, it's just wild.
Absolutely.
But that's a good question.
That was a great question. It was a great question. My turn next, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's an interesting one. It says, you guys talk a lot about how technology shapes society. What is a future technology advancement that you think people are seriously underestimating right now? I think they meant to say maybe the current technology people were underestimating.
I mean,
a future tech advancement, or maybe
future tech advancement. Yeah, like maybe a technology that will be more advanced in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. A future or a current tech that we could bring into the future that we'd underestimate. Now, I know I said that our most likely way of dying is an AI uprising, but I feel like robotics in our home currently are one of the most underestimated technologies, especially with the ones that are coming out now that will be able to like completely change life. Like you'll never have to fold laundry again.
Oh, I can't
really let that sink in for a second.
I am excited for that.
That's crazy. And that they have robots that do that already. Now, I know like everybody's got a Roomba and it's just the Roomba that the cat rides on. But those things, those little things, the robots that you're going to be putting into your house to make your activities of daily life just so much easier are going to be like the next step in advancing our civilization to becoming like the people in WALL-E.
We need to do an episode on just like on robotics, because I think humanoid robotics are going to be truly civilization changing, and they're coming out a lot right now. We're seeing like new models being made and all that. And yeah, I agree with you on that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a great episode too.
I think for me, my answer is augmented reality. Virtual reality, sure. I think that's going to be a lesser one. I'm putting my money on augmented reality. I think that once we have AR glasses that you can just wear that work like normal glasses, but can overlay digital information into your real world, I also think that that's going to fundamentally change society to the same extent that the smartphone did.
Oh, yeah.
And unsurprisingly, I'm a bit of a nerd. I actually wear AR glasses on a daily basis. They're not augmented reality and they don't have a screen on them yet, but I wear Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses as my regular pair of glasses. I wear those every single day and I absolutely love them. And again, I listen to audiobooks all the time, so they're very convenient for that. And working in a laboratory, we're not allowed to wear headphones, so having open ear glasses like that is a safety thing. But once they come out with glasses that have a screen built into them and we can like actually see text messages and have interactive objects overlaid into the real world, I think that'll change society.
Yeah, no, that'll be amazing. I actually just saw my first commercial for those Meta glasses. And it had Chris Pratt and the guy who played Thor. What's his name? It doesn't matter.
I thought that was great. I don't know.
But it had them in it. And in that, they asked it to translate something that was on the wall.
Yeah.
Your glasses can do that?
They can do that. Actually, funny story. They have live translation now. And I was flying out of the country to go visit some in-laws. And a lot of them don't speak English. They speak Dutch. And so I was like, I'm not going to bring these glasses. They're expensive. I don't want them to break, and I'm not going to wear them a lot overseas. And as soon as we get to the airport, no turning back now, I get an email from Meta. It says, we've released live translation. I was like, no, I didn't. Because I was like really debating bringing my glasses.
Oh, man. Life's just like that, though.
Oh, it was comedic timing to the extreme. I showed my wife and she was just like, oh, my God.
Oh, man, that's messed up. All right. Oh, let me see. So in your episode on AI, you mentioned how automation could free people from boring jobs. But do you think society will actually let that happen, or will we just invent new pointless work?
I think this is a really good question. And I think it's a point I tried to illustrate in the AI episode. But to an extent, I think we will invent new work. And the reason is because I feel like people have this innate need to feel useful. And I think if you just tell people, hey, all your basic needs are met, do whatever you want, that'll work for some people. Some people go out and have creative endeavors, but I think other people will need to have a role in society. So I think a true like AI that was running society would probably invent roles for people to fill that needed that in their life. That's my prediction.
That is a good prediction that I do agree with a little bit, but there's a lot of menial work that is around nowadays where it doesn't give people purpose, even though they do it. It would have to be something purposeful. But if we don't need purpose because all of our needs are fulfilled, then what would that purpose be as far as work goes?
Yeah.
You could label our recreation and call it work and that it's benefiting society.
Yeah, it could be literally anything. It could be your job is to go socialize with like elderly people, for example. That could give purpose both ways. Make sure that person who is quote unquote hired is getting their social needs as well, even if they don't think so. And when we're talking about artificial superintelligence, which is even above AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, this is an entity that's thinking orders of magnitude above what a human can do. And I think this type of entity would have the ability to literally look at every single person on Earth on a case-by-case basis and figure out what is a task I could assign this person to do, if any, that would make them like a happy, content person. For some people, that'll be nothing. It'll say this person, if I give them their basics, what they need for life, they themselves have the motivation to go out, pursue passion, pursue hobby. And maybe for some other people, it's going to decide this person needs some structure to their life. And it could potentially find them, like I said, a quote unquote job that gives them purpose. Even if that job strictly isn't necessary for the society to function, it might come up with an excuse for it to exist.
Yeah, that is actually a really cool point too, because I just thought of this. I've read about it before, but it just came back up, is that when you look at today's society, people who feel like they live in or work in menial jobs or jobs that don't make them feel like they have purpose are more attracted to video games. Because in those games, you have tasks and you complete those tasks and it gives you a sense of purpose, right?
Yeah, and I think having that sense of purpose is very important. So I guess to answer this question is, do I think society will let that happen? I think to an extent, yeah, it might let that happen, but there also might be safeguards for people who do need a little more direction.
Yeah.
Maybe that's overly optimistic, but I am famously an optimist on a lot of things.
I'd agree with that.
Last question. I think this is my question, right?
Yep.
So I love the episode on the Dark Forest Theory. Thank you. Do you guys personally think intelligent aliens are out there? And if so, should we actually try to contact them?
100% yes. I believe that there is life out there somewhere. Now, can we contact them? I believe that right now, if we had a neighbor that was close enough to contact, I'd say we do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because being able to work together, especially if we were on like a similar technology level, being able to share that, I feel like could be very beneficial to us. But as of right now, we don't see any of them out there. And if we did see another civilization and we did see them maybe blow up another one of our neighbors, then maybe I'd be like, pull it back a little bit. But you got to approach every interaction with context clues.
Yeah. I have a very similar view to you. I think almost certainly there is other intelligent life in the universe. We talk about the Fermi paradox a lot, and we'll be covering it in more episodes. My personally preferred solution to the Fermi paradox is that I think life is just incredibly rare. So it could be the case, and I personally lean toward this explanation, that we might be the only intelligent life in our galaxy.
Yeah.
And so it could be very much so that, yes, there is intelligent life in the universe, but it's just too far away for us to ever encounter and see. And that's why we don't see aliens everywhere, is because it's just very rare. To the second part of that question, though, is should we try to contact them? Assuming that we did discover alien life within our galaxy, I absolutely think we should try to contact them, mostly because I just feel like any civilization that reached spacefaring age would absolutely be receptive to discovering their neighbors. And I don't actually see a situation where they would just destroy us for no reason.
Yeah, especially if you've reached that level. But I don't know. It's just hard to think about, because somebody who's 1,000 light years away, they could be on that planet that we're looking at right now, and we won't know for another 400 years or something until they've gone into their industrial age, or until plant life has started to sprout, or whatever it is.
Absolutely. All right, so that's all the questions that we have selected for this episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it's not our normal type of episode. I think it still covered a lot of the stuff that we typically talk about, though, and this was a little bit more of a chance to let our personalities shine out, I think.
Yeah, have some banter, not be so drowned in facts.
Yeah. I love the facts. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you liked this kind of episode. Actually, please do let us know if you do like this kind of episode, because if so, it's potentially something we could do every couple of episodes. Maybe we'll keep this up every 10 episodes, or if you hate it, also let us know and we'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Still learning.
I personally enjoyed it, though, hearing you guys' specific questions on topics that we've touched on already.
Yeah, and the recording this was actually really fun. So
yes, but thank you all so much, as always, and talk to you soon.
All right. Take care, everyone.